The day before our wedding, Christian lost his memory in a car accident. He remembered everyone except me, mistaking my best friend for his lover. My best friend comforted me, saying Christian was just sick, that he loved me so much and would surely remember me. He could never bear to forget me. Encouraged by her, I consulted every specialist across the country, painstakingly recounting our past love to Christian. Yet all I received in return were his weary, irritated glances. Just when I was about to give up, I finally managed to book an appointment with the most authoritative expert who could treat his memory loss. I was ecstatic and wanted to share the good news with him, but I overheard his conversation with his brother. "Christian, aren't you afraid Shermin will get angry with you in the future if she finds out you're faking memory loss and dating her best friend Shermin?" My mind went blank as I stood there in shock. Then I heard Christian casually respond. "What's there to fear? She's still busy finding doctors to cure me. I love Moon, but unfortunately Sherman's family has done a great favor for Moon, and my family would never allow Moon to become my wife. All we could do was steal a year together this way, to make up for the regret of not being able to be together. As for Shermin, when the time comes, I'll just say I miraculously regained my memory, then it's fine to marry her, isn't it?" The two most important people in my life had already betrayed me long ago. I stood frozen in place until I saw Moon's car outside, then quickly hid. A minute later, hiding in a corner, I watched Moon happily throw herself into Christian's arms. "Christian, did you miss me? It's my birthday today, what gift did you prepare for me?" Christian kissed Moon on the cheek and took out a jade necklace to place around Moon's neck. "My little princess, I could forget anything but never your birthday." I couldn't hear anything else after that, only staring bitterly at that jade necklace in my heart. That's the necklace passed down to daughters-in-law in Christian's family. 3 years ago, at the engagement party for Christian and me, his mother placed the necklace around my neck in front of everyone. Christian grinned foolishly, announcing to everyone he met that I was his beloved, the wife he would spend his lifetime with. That necklace had always been kept in the safe of our wedding home, with only Christian and me knowing the password. I drove back to the wedding house like a madwoman and opened the safe. Seeing the empty safe made my whole body tremble uncontrollably. I could no longer lie to myself. Christian never lost his memory at all. He betrayed me with Moon. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Moon. The photo showed a table full of jewelry and designer bags. "Shermin, Christian just gave me another pile of gifts. I think these were originally meant for you. Come over to my place and take them back." After sending this, she added an awkward emoji. Since Christian's memory loss, he had been aggressively pursuing Moon. Every time Christian approached her, gave her gifts, or invited her to dinner, Moon would refuse and call me immediately to let me know. At first, watching the person I love pursue another woman was heartbreaking for me. But Moon reassured me, saying she could sense that Christian had simply lost his memory and mistaken her for someone else. The one he truly loved was still me. Whenever Christian's treatment failed and I wanted to give up, it was always Moon who comforted me. She said I should trust Christian's love for me, and as long as I persisted, Christian would come back to me one day. Later, to bring me and Christian together, Moon agreed to go on a date with Christian, creating an opportunity for me to meet him. Even though it led to misunderstandings with her then-boyfriend and their eventual breakup, she still comforted me with a smile. For my best friend's happiness, what's a little sacrifice? Later on, just make it up to me with a big gift, that'll do. I once thanked the heavens for blessing me with such a wonderful best friend. But now, I threw my phone onto the ground in utter devastation, a wave of humiliating betrayal surging within me. Moon, as if to further mock me, called right at that moment. The ringing echoed through the empty silence of the room, creeping closer and pressing against my frayed nerves. I didn't answer, sitting limply on the floor in a daze, not even having the strength to lift my hand. But Moon didn't give up. She had always been persistent, never satisfied until she got what, or whom, she wanted. I don't know how much time passed before I steadied myself and picked up the phone with an expressionless face, hearing the soft, tactful voice on the other end. "Shermin, today is my birthday. Christian gave me so many gifts, I feel it's rather inappropriate. Come to my place and take them away. After all, he's your fiancé. It's awkward for him to keep giving me all these things, you know? In the past, even when my heart ached, I would still smile and comfort her, telling her to just accept it. But now, I forced out a faint smile. Sure, you can just have someone deliver it to my place. You have the address of the wedding apartment, right? Moon seemed stunned, and after a long pause, she finally spoke. Why are you suddenly going there? Didn't you say you didn't want to see it and be reminded of the past? Every corner of the wedding home was decorated by me and Christian together. After Christian lost his memory, he resisted our marriage and hired people to destroy the wedding home's decor. Yet, I pieced together an identical home again, relying on my memories. How come I never realized before? Every call from Moon felt like a knife stabbing my heart. I took a deep breath for a second, deliberately aiming to sting her and make her unhappy. It's all in the past. One day, Christian will come back to me, and until then, I'll be right here waiting for him. Moon froze for a moment, then burst into laughter as if she had heard an incredibly funny joke. That laughter pierced my eardrums, and I couldn't help hanging up the phone in humiliated anger. Not long after, the phone rang again. I instinctively answered the call. It was Christian. Shermin, what's wrong with you now? What did you say to Moon to upset her? What? I was momentarily stunned. Christian hadn't reached out to me on his own in so long. And he called me just for this? My heart skipped a beat. Go apologize to Moon right now. I remained silent for a long time, and when I finally spoke, my voice was hoarse. What right do you have to make demands of me? Christian sounded impatient. I'm your boyfriend. If you'd lost your memory, then you wouldn't be my boyfriend. Between you and me, there is no relationship. Suppressing the tears welling in my eyes, I hung up the phone. I hired someone to investigate Christian and Moon's relationship. In just half a day, a flood of photos and videos came pouring in from the other side. Their connection dates back to as early as the day after our engagement party 3 years ago. I still remember calling Christian that morning. He took forever to answer. I thought he was busy with work. Yet, who would have guessed that very night of our engagement party, my fiancé ended up in the same bed as my best friend. I flipped through the photos one by one. My tense emotions collapsed abruptly upon seeing the wedding photos of Christian and Moon. The photos were taken 4 months ago. At that time, the doctor had already performed surgery on Christian, yet he remained unconscious. Every day, I waited outside the hospital ward, haggard with grief. In hopes of hastening his awakening, even though I had never believed in gods or Buddha, I knelt and kowtowed 3 times at the temple, praying for a talisman to place on him for safety. But while I was unconscious from my knee injury, Christian had already woken up long ago. He hid it from all of us, secretly preparing for a wedding with Moon, placing the wedding ring on her finger and sharing an intimate kiss in front of a gathering of foreign friends. So what was I? A ridiculous clown? The phone kept ringing. I blocked Moon and Christian's calls. But Moon reached out through mutual friends to invite me to her birthday celebration. Shermin cautiously asked me, "What's going on between you and Moon? On her birthdays in the past, weren't you always the first to celebrate with her?" "That's right. Moon and I grew up together. She's the daughter of our family's nanny. When I was 10, the nanny passed away from a serious illness, leaving Moon an orphan. Seeing how pitiful Moon was, I begged my parents to adopt her. From then on, I shared everything good, food, toys, with Moon. We grew up together, as close as sisters. I never thought Moon would betray me." I let out a bitter laugh and simply said, "It's nothing. Tell her I'll be there." I opened the wardrobe, took out my favorite red dress from before, and dressed up to attend Moon's birthday party. The moment I opened the door, everyone's gazes froze when they saw me. "Shermin? Is that really you?" Shermin exclaimed in surprise. "It's been so long since I've seen you dressed up like this since the incident half a year ago." As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere grew cold again. Ever since Christian's accident 6 months ago, I've devoted all my energy to helping him regain his memory. Christian disliked my flamboyant personality, so I replaced all my clothes with white ones according to his new preferences, no longer riding horses or racing cars as I used to. It had been a long time since I lived the way I truly wanted. My gaze lifted and landed on Moon in the crowd, wearing a white dress. A diamond tiara adorned her head. Christian spent 100 million at an auction overseas a month ago specifically to win this crown. The owner of the crown, my fiancé in name, was standing beside Moon, hosting us as if he were the host. His gaze at me held a fleeting hint of nostalgia, but soon turned cold and indifferent. Moon smiled and called out to me. "Shermin, you're here, I saved you a seat. Same as before, I want to cut the cake with you and share half of my blessings with you." After saying this, Moon hugged me warmly and pulled me to sit beside her. Christian naturally sat on Moon's other side, wrapping his arm protectively around her. The friends present all remained silent. Everyone knew how affectionate Christian and I used to be, and that Moon was my closest best friend. But now, we were sitting on either side of Moon. It felt as though I was the third wheel. Everyone's expressions turned awkward. Christian, noticing the look on my face, paused for a moment before speaking up first. "Why is everyone so quiet? Today is Moon's birthday." I calmly extended my hands and clapped. "Congratulations, happy birthday." The atmosphere grew even more awkward. Shermin and the others keenly sensed something was off, bowing their heads to exchange furtive glances. Moon smiled and, as usual, tried to strike up a conversation between me and Christian. "Christian, Shermin has arranged for you to see the most authoritative specialists to help restore your memory. You'll recover soon." She took my hand and Christian's, placing them together. Christian sneered coldly, pulled out his hand with disgust, and interlocked his fingers with Moon's. "Moon, how many times have I told you? The one I like is you. Others don't interest me at all. Even if what you said about amnesia is true, then surely God made me lose my memory the day before my wedding to give me a chance to fall in love with you." My heart skipped a beat uncontrollably, and I couldn't suppress the smile on my face. Bitterly thinking in my heart, perhaps these were Christian's true feelings. For a fleeting moment, Moon's eyes showed shyness and contentment, but she still struggled hard to break free from Christian's grasp. "What nonsense are you talking about? You and Shermin, you're the perfect golden couple, a match made in heaven. When you regain your memory, the first thing you'll do is marry Shermin." "How could that be? I wouldn't even look at a woman who's so desperate to be a doormat." I let out a mocking laugh. "It's always the same. Moon brings us together, playing the role of a good friend, trying to mediate between Christian and me. Christian then says something hurtful to me again, just to see me break down and walk away. Afterward, Moon even took the initiative to comfort me, stringing me along. If I hadn't seen their affair with my own eyes, I might still believe Moon was a caring sister looking out for me. Moon turned around and anxiously tried to persuade me. "Shermin, don't be angry. Christian, he just lost his memory and doesn't remember anything, that's why he's saying such nonsense. Christian, hurry up and apologize to Shermin." Moon frowned, while Christian looked at her with adoration. His gaze turned icy when he looked at me. "Fine, for Moon's sake, I'm sorry. But Shermin, you don't need to keep dragging me to see doctors. I think I'm perfectly fine as I am now. I hope you'll stop hanging around me like some annoying pest in the future. I don't know how the Song family of Harrington Gate ended up with such an embarrassment like you." As soon as these words were spoken, my mind buzzed, and I froze in place. Everyone present looked at me with concern. As the words left his mouth, Christian realized he might have gone too far. For a brief moment, hesitation flickered in his eyes as he looked at me, but then, recalling his supposed amnesia, he grew unrestrained again. "What? I didn't say anything wrong. Everyone knows she's been clinging to me like a dog for the past 6 months. Moon frowned slightly. "Christian, you're talking nonsense again." Moon pouted and exchanged a glance with Christian, trying to brush the matter aside. Forcing a smile, I stood up, clenched my teeth, and slapped Christian across the face. Shermin, what are you doing? Amid Moon's scream, I grabbed the glass of red wine beside me and splashed it on Christian's face. Christian looked at me angrily, his eyes flashing with momentary guilt when he saw my red-rimmed eyes. I set down the glass and smiled with relief. I was finally willing to admit that the man I had loved for years was nothing but a thorough coward. He didn't even dare to openly confess his infidelity to everyone, resorting to pretending amnesia just to cover his shame. This kind of Christian, he wasn't worthy of me. You're quite right, it's truly a blessing that you happened to lose your memory just one day before our wedding. Christian, you're getting exactly what you wanted. No need to worry about me dragging you to any more brain examinations. Starting today, our engagement is off. Christian looked utterly shocked. He abruptly stood up, desperate to explain something. Shermin, actually. I looked at Christian, but Moon nervously tugged at his sleeve. Christian's gaze softened the moment it landed on Moon's face. I knew he wouldn't say anything more. With a bitter smile, I turned and walked away. I'm back. I pushed open the front door to find my parents waiting for me on the couch. Dad, Mom, I agree to the arranged marriage you proposed earlier. Father studied my expression carefully. Once he was certain I wasn't saying this just to spite them, he nodded in satisfaction. Good. That's my daughter Victor. I lowered my head. From the moment I hired a private investigator, I knew this matter couldn't escape my parents' notice. The photos and videos delivered to me, ranging from hotel surveillance footage 3 years ago to every sweet moment between Christian and Moon over the past 6 months. These were definitely not materials that could be gathered in half a day. My parents had long known about Christian and Moon. They endured in silence only to test me, to see how I would react. Now, it seems they're quite satisfied with my choice. Mom gently wrapped her arms around me, holding and comforting me. My dear, you've been wronged. When I found out Christian had deceived me, I didn't cry. At Moon's birthday party, I didn't cry either. But now, hiding in my mother's embrace, tears poured down like rain, and I couldn't stop sobbing. I don't understand. Moon and I grew up together, and Christian and I were in love for 7 years. I truly believe there's nothing I've done to wrong them. Why did they have to play with my feelings and betray me like this? But none of it matters anymore. Those who don't cherish me aren't worth my heartache. I cleared out everything in the house related to Christian and Moon and threw it all in the trash. The room felt half empty. Moon bombarded me with endless messages every day, claiming to explain, but every word reeked of provocation. Whenever Moon sent a message and got no reply, within a minute, I would receive a barrage of accusations and messages from Christian. I didn't reply to a single message, nor did I block either of them on WeChat. I still needed some time to let go of the last remnants of my feelings for them. I returned to the company and picked up the career I had neglected for half a year because of Christian. I got back on the path I was meant to follow. Since Christian and I got engaged, our families have been closely collaborating. Even though my parents have clearly expressed their intention to call off the engagement, Christian's parents refuse to give up and keep setting up meetings to persuade me to change my mind. Christian's mother grabbed my hand. Shermin, Auntie knows you're a good child. How can you give up so easily on the years of love between you and Christian just because he lost his memory? Politely, I withdrew my hand. Auntie, everyone has seen what I've done over the past 6 months since Christian lost his memory. I've tried my best to salvage this relationship. And the results are right here for everyone to see. Christian's parents stiffened. They had only informed Christian yesterday about today's meeting to discuss the marriage alliance between the two families, yet this morning Christian posted a photo with Moon on social media. Even now, he hasn't shown up. Clearly, he's trying to humiliate the Song family of Harrington Gate. Christian's mother wanted to say more, but my parents had already stood up. It seems Christian is quite busy, and I have company matters to attend to. Let's catch up next time we have the chance. He continued, let's just drop the marriage arrangement. Judging from my parents' expressions, Christian's parents realized there was no room for negotiation and agreed to cancel the engagement. After both sets of parents left, I was about to exit when the door suddenly swung open. Christian walked in arrogantly, holding Moon around the waist. "Didn't you say the elders from both families were gathering to discuss our life-changing matters? How could something so important end without waiting for my arrival?" I lowered my head, looking at the two figures pressed together before me with an indifferent expression. Even though I was already disappointed enough, seeing this scene still made my heart ache. Christian, seeing that I was the only one in the room, sneered and sat down. "Shermin, I knew it was your doing again. To see me this time, you actually managed to persuade my parents and even used calling off the marriage as a pretense just to trick me into meeting you." I didn't respond. The matter of canceling the marriage had already been decided. It would be announced once the joint project between our families was finalized. There was no need for me to waste any more words on Christian. I picked up my phone and was about to leave when Moon, her eyes red, blocked my path. "Shermin, have I somehow misunderstood you? I haven't been able to reach you these past 2 days. If it's about what happened at the birthday party that day, I apologize to you." Before I could speak, Christian had already pulled Moon behind him protectively. "What are you apologizing for? Clearly it's Shermin being petty, deliberately ruining your birthday party. She should be the one apologizing to you." Christian raised his head, looking down at me with disdain. "Shermin, if you know what's good for you, you'll kneel and apologize to Moon." I looked up in shock. "What did you say? You're telling me to kneel before Moon?" Christian avoided my gaze, rubbing his nose with his fingers. "Of course, if you've upset her, you should pay the price. Otherwise, even if I regained my memory, I wouldn't marry you. You're already getting old, who else would want you besides me?" He was about to say more, but shame and fury had already reddened my eyes. I swung my bag and hit Christian in the face. "Christian, get this straight, our engagement is cancelled. My affairs are none of your business." Christian's eyes fluttered with panic at my words. "What did you say?" Moon's eyes flickered with delight. Hurriedly supporting Christian's arm, she shifted her gaze to me and spoke in a gentle, placating tone. "Shermin, your engagement involves so many joint projects between both families, how could it just be cancelled on a whim? Even if you're angry, you shouldn't joke about cancelling the engagement." Christian sighed in relief and looked at me with a teasing glint in his eyes. "Playing these little tricks again? You're not exactly young anymore, why can't you learn to be as magnanimous as Moon? Guess I'm just unlucky, even with amnesia, I'm stuck with you, and now I have to marry you." Moon put on a serious expression to scold Christian. "Christian, you shouldn't talk to Shermin like that." After speaking, her gaze fell on me. "Shermin, it's all my fault for making you misunderstand my relationship with Christian. Alright then, let me apologize to you." She held out a bouquet of flowers and brought it close to my face. I stared at her fake, exaggerated expression, unable to comprehend how she could be so shameless. I already knew Moon's true nature, yet she still acted as if nothing had happened, pretending to be my best friend. A wave of revulsion welled up inside me. I reached out and pushed away the bouquet she was offering, gritting my teeth as I spoke each word deliberately. "I don't accept your apology. And I don't want to see you again." Moon's eyes immediately reddened upon hearing this, large tears rolling down. Christian's face darkened as he gripped my arm tightly. "Shermin, that's enough." He shoved the flowers from Moon's hands into my arms. "If something's given to you, you'd better hold on to it properly." I was about to throw away the flowers in my arms when I suddenly felt my breath tighten and an uncomfortable itch rise in my throat. The flowers fell from my arms to the ground. Sensing something unusual, I turned to look at Moon. "Did you add gardenias?" "I'm allergic to gardenias. When we were kids, Moon once gave me gardenias as a gift, and my severe allergic reaction landed me in the hospital." Worried that Moon might get blamed by her parents, I took the blame myself, saying it was an accidental contact on my part. It became our little secret. But I never expected her to intentionally harm me with gardenias. Moon looked up with feigned innocence. Shermin, I don't understand what you're talking about. As I looked at her, countless overlooked details from the past suddenly surfaced in my mind. The gown accidentally ruined by Moon during my birthday. The piano competition missed due to eating the wrong food. Moon's presence is evident in every memory. My throat tightened until I could barely breathe. With my last ounce of strength, I slapped Moon across the face. Moon let out a sharp "ah" and clutched her cheek. Christian's face turned ashen as he shoved me to the ground. That's enough, Shermin. You need to seriously reflect on your actions. Christian took Moon away. Before leaving, he even locked the door from the outside. I watched as the last ray of light disappeared before my eyes, my breath growing weaker, lying on the floor and weakly crawling toward my phone. Before I could make the call, everything went black, and I completely lost consciousness. I was taken to the hospital by a waiter who noticed something was wrong. The doctor said my allergic reaction was severe, and if I had arrived at the hospital any later, I could have died at any moment. My parents were furious upon receiving the news and began opposing the Liu family of Ravenscroft at every turn, snatching several of their projects. Christian's parents also acknowledged their wrongdoing in this matter and called him, urging him to apologize to me, hoping I would convince my parents to back off. However, it turned out that Christian was already on a plane traveling abroad with Moon, completely unreachable no matter what. Even company matters were entirely left to his secretary's hands. Christian's family was facing troubles both at home and abroad. Christian's parents had no choice but to make concessions at every turn in the collaborative project between the two families. I was completely disappointed in Christian and began training Christian's sister to join the company. I lay on the hospital bed, while my social media feed was flooded with travel photos deliberately posted by Moon. Note: Moon is retained as a proper noun, following the instruction to keep original text for names. She and Christian had already arrived on the island, completely unaware of what had transpired with the Liu family of Ravenscroft. Every photo in the 9-grid collage features Christian. Sometimes it's his back, sometimes clasped hands. Anyone familiar with Christian would instantly recognize it's him. The last one was their travel itinerary. I clicked to open it and sneered inwardly. It was the honeymoon travel plan Christian and I had made together half a year ago. I love the ocean and wanted to see the northern lights. Back then, I pestered Christian to plan every detail together, dreaming about our honeymoon after marriage. Now the trip has come true, except it's not me who went with Christian. Friends in the comments asked if Moon was in love, wondering why she hadn't told them. Moon replied below with a shy emoji. 5 minutes later, she backtracked. No, it's not like that. We're just good friends. Some who didn't know the truth joked about it. But those who attended the birthday party that day knew exactly what was going on. Shermin called it out directly in the comments. Isn't this guy Christian? Moon, are you really with Christian now? How could you do this to Shermin? Soon, Moon deleted that moment. But the next day, I saw another photo in Moon's moments. This time they were in Antarctica, kissing in the icy wilderness, sleeping side by side in a tent under the polar night. Visible only to me. I took a screenshot and reposted it in my own moments. Now everyone could see it. 5 minutes later, a call came in. I leisurely answered, listening to Christian angrily yelling on the other end. What are you doing, Shermin? Hurry up and delete those photos. I took a bite of the small cake. I thought you'd ask me where I got these photos from. Silence on the other end. I let out a light chuckle. Looks like you're aware. Since you already know, why ask me to delete them? I think my dear friend Moon sent me these photos to share her joy with me, so I can only honor her kindness by letting everyone admire them. Alright, no need to thank me. Have a pleasant trip. After saying that, I hung up the phone and blocked the number. Christian called me again from another number. I blocked that one too. I composed myself, raised my head, and looked at the arranged marriage partner in front of me. I apologize for the scene. For the 6 months Christian lost his memory, the things between us became a hot topic in our circle. Even someone as uninformed as Shane couldn't possibly not know. But the man before me remained unfazed, gazing at me with evident interest. Not at all, Shermin is quite intriguing. I blocked all messages related to Moon and Christian. 3 months later, clad in a wedding dress, I exchanged rings before a crowd of witnesses. I once thought that growing up with Christian, childhood sweethearts as we were, I could pursue true love in this world of arranged marriages among wealthy families. But only now do I understand, only interests are truly reliable. Fortunately, Shane and I unexpectedly got along well. Handsome and a business prodigy among his peers, my parents were very pleased with him. Privately, we equally loved Ravi's books and enjoyed listening to rock music. Life after marriage didn't have extreme passion, just peaceful yet heartwarming. I started getting used to this feeling. I had almost completely forgotten about the existence of Christian and Moon. Until at a banquet, Shane and I separated to talk to our respective business partners. There was a commotion at the entrance, and I turned around belatedly. Then I felt a scorching presence behind me. Christian stood behind me, wearing the groom's wedding suit that should have appeared at the wedding a year ago. His smile was nervous yet fervent. "Shermin, I've finally found you." Moon also appeared at the right moment. "Shermin," Christian hit his head, and the first thing he did after regaining his memory was to come looking for you. "Really?" "It's true." Christian spoke urgently and expectantly. "Shermin, I've remembered everything. The one I love is you. We'll get married tomorrow." I took a step back, my gaze indifferent. "No need. I've already." "Shermin, I know I've done many wrong things during this year of amnesia and made you suffer a lot, but it was all because I had lost my memory. None of those things were my true intentions." He interrupted urgently, his eyes brimming with self-righteous remorse and anguish. "I pursued Moon solely because I mistook her for you. Shermin, I swear, you're the only one I've ever loved. I've never done anything to betray you. Blame fate for playing such cruel tricks on us lovers." Watching his pitiful performance, I let out an angry laugh. A year ago, Christian and Moon played a fake amnesia act and completely fooled me. A year later, they actually pulled the same trick again, thinking I'd believe him once more. I really don't know if he's too confident that I'd love him unconditionally, or if he looks down on me too much, treating me like a fool. Seeing me smile, Christian thought I was overjoyed to see him. Suddenly grabbing my wrist, he arrogantly declared, "Shermin, we're going to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get our marriage certificate tomorrow. I want to make up for everything I've owed you this past year." "Humph. Who would want such a filthy thing like him?" I forcefully shook off his hand, my tone icy. "No need. Christian, whether you've lost your memory or not, you should know our engagement was cancelled long ago. There is nothing between us." Moon spoke in a gentle tone, yet her eyes held just the right amount of reproach. "Shermin, I know what Christian did when he lost his memory hurt you, but we've already explained everything. He simply didn't remember you, he didn't mean to treat you that way. Can't you forgive him?" "No." I cut her off. "Whether he's lost his memory or not, you always remember everything, don't you?" "Moon, didn't I already say it? I don't want to see you in front of me anymore." Moon swayed slightly, her face showing a fragile expression. Christian stood protectively in front of her, his expression grave. "Shermin, apologized to Moon. She was just being nice. Can't you stop being so petty every time? How can you be my wife like this? If you apologize right now, I might still forgive you." I looked at him like he was an idiot. They just kept repeating these same two lines. I didn't want to hear it anymore. "I've been married for a long time. Stop bossing me around. Who do you think you are?" Christian's face darkened. "Shermin, what did you say? When did you get married? Who else would be willing to marry you besides me? You better explain this clearly." "Who should explain?" Shane stepped forward from the crowd and stood in front of me. He took my hand and gave me a reassuring look. "Are you okay?" I shook my head. It's nothing, just ran into a couple of dogs on the way. Christian stared at our intertwined hands, his face filled with disbelief. No way, this can't be. Shermin, how could you marry someone else? But everything before him served as a stark reminder, it was all real. Watching me and Shane walk away, Christian wanted to chase after us but was held back by his best friend. Christian grabbed the person in front of him by the collar, refusing to let go. Felix, tell me, Shermin isn't really getting married, right? She's just putting on an act with Shane to trick me. Felix looked at Christian with a complicated expression. He placed a hand on his shoulder. Bro, Shermin got married 3 months ago. I sent you countless messages and called you so many times, but you didn't answer a single one. Now, sigh. Looking at the dazed expression on Christian's face, Felix still couldn't bear to remind him. Your top priority right now isn't finding Shermin. Shermin's marriage is already set in stone. You'd better hurry back to your family company to see for yourself. When Christian returned to the Liu family of Ravenscroft, he discovered that Summer had entered the company and even moved into the office that was originally his. Even the 10% company shares that were supposed to be transferred to Christian after the wedding had ended up in Summer's possession. Christian found this unacceptable. In his mind, he had merely been acting in a play. Spend a year falling in love with Moon, and after that year, he will come back to marry me. But he never expected that in just half a year away from home, his sister had already taken his place and established herself in the company. Even his parents, who had nurtured him for years, had long lost all hope in him. Christian finally had no time for romance anymore. He racked his brains, trying to reclaim his rightful position from Summer. But it was too late. Over the past 6 months, Summer and I had formed close business ties. All for this very day, to completely knock Christian off his position as heir to Ravenscroft Holdings Ltd. Christian threw a tantrum, while I was busy laughing at his antics with Summer, unaware of Shane. That night, Shane kept me up so much that I missed the meeting the next day. Knowing he was at fault, Shane sent me a pile of gifts to make amends. I accepted them and let him pull me into his embrace. Looking at the scenery outside the window, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. What was that saying again? I stepped out from under Christian's umbrella only to realize it wasn't even raining outside. But Christian lacks this self-awareness. He started waiting for me at various places where I might appear, trying to reconcile. Even when I just came out of the hospital, I would run into Christian waiting by my car. Holding gifts I had given him before, he reminisced about our past together. Shermin, it was my fault. How could I have lost you just because of a bout of amnesia? Christian held the clay figure I had personally molded in his hands, tears glistening in his eyes. This was the gift I gave you when you were 16. I sighed and reached out to take the clay figure. A flicker of joy and anticipation flashed in Christian's eyes. But soon, with a smack, the smile in Christian's eyes hardened and vanished. The clay figurine shattered on the ground. No matter how Christian tried to piece it together, it wouldn't mend. He looked up, his tone unexpectedly plaintive. Shermin, what are you doing? I made this with my own hands. Yes. That year when we were 16, it was very popular for couples to exchange hand-molded ceramic figurines. Christian and I also made a pair together. The one I made was given to Christian, and the one he made is kept with me. I placed that clay figurine by the bedside. Just seeing it when I opened my eyes would fill my heart with sweetness. But later, the clay figurine at Christian's home was accidentally broken by Moon. Christian came to my place and took back the one he had originally given me. Moon really likes pottery figures, just lend it to her to play with. Before I could even respond, Christian had already left. Perhaps from that moment onward, his heart had already drifted away. Watching Christian standing before me, continuously pointing fingers, I finally let go of the knot in my heart. Christian, I know you never lost your memory. The expression on Christian's face froze instantly. I also know you've long since changed your heart and fallen for Moon. No, that's not true. Christian continued to deny it, but I no longer wanted to listen. Christian, I once liked you very much. Once, you were my boyfriend, and Moon was my closest best friend. But from the day you both betrayed me, there was no turning back. I stared at the Christian in front of me. I knew he had been living with Moon all along. He came to me, hoping to rely on our past feelings to get me to help him reclaim Ravenscroft Holdings Ltd. But he overestimated my kindness. I exchanged some warm words with him and drove away after seeing the regret and guilt in his eyes. That night, Summer and I worked together to devise a plan that sent both Christian and Moon to the African subsidiary of Ravenscroft Holdings Ltd. I'm pregnant now, and my eyes can't stand filth. From now on, I don't want to see them again. 3 years later, at the top floor of Harrington Blackwood Group's global headquarters in the City of London. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, my 8-month pregnant belly prominent, overlooking the River Thames. Behind me, Shane pushed the door open himself, holding the freshly printed front page of the Financial Times. The headline was in bold, taking up the entire page. Ravenscroft Holdings declared bankrupt. Last heir Christian Lou missing, rumored to be hiding in Cape Town with £300 million debt. I chuckled softly and casually tossed the newspaper onto the table. You're pretty fast. Shane hugged me from behind, his palm covering my belly, and teased in Chinese in a low voice that only the two of us could understand. No matter how fast you run, you can't escape the trap you set. My lady is mighty indeed. 3 years, enough time for Christian to completely turn his own winning cards into a mess. The first year, barely 2 months after Shane and I had registered our marriage. I had Summer send Christian and Moon off to an African mining operation. On the surface, it was a gilded opportunity, but in reality, that gold mine had already been shorted by Shane and me. The reported profits were entirely fictitious. Christian was immediately saddled with the turnaround project upon arrival, signing a whopping 47 personal unlimited joint liability guarantees. 3 months later, the gold mine scandal exploded, and the International Criminal Court issued a direct warrant for his arrest. If he dared to return to the country, he would be arrested the moment he landed at the airport. The following year, Moon became pregnant. She thought giving birth to the first grandson of the Christian family would turn her fortunes around, and returned home excitedly, only to find 1. The Christian family's ancestral home had already been seized and auctioned off by the court, and the buyer was me. 2. That 10% equity under Christian's name was quietly transferred to me through an offshore trust 2 years ago. 3. The ultimate twist was when Moon went for a prenatal checkup and discovered the child wasn't Christian's. The DNA report showed the biological father was the local project manager she'd been having an affair with in the African mining area. She had a full breakdown, aborted the pregnancy, and took to live streaming to call Christian a useless impotent loser. This live broadcast was edited into a 9-grid collage by marketing accounts with the title, "The 80 Million Cinderella Scandal, the child isn't his, and the necklace isn't hers either." The third year, which is now, Christian fled to Cape Town with the last £3 million, hoping to make a comeback. He had just gotten off the plane when local creditors cornered him at the airport, giving him a brutal beating. The video went viral worldwide. His nose was broken, and he knelt on the ground, crying as he called Summer to borrow money. Summer sent me the recording of the call. After listening, I only replied with one sentence, "Let him kneel." As for Moon, she worked as a reception base at an underground casino on London's South Bank, wearing a fake necklace branded as the Ravenscroft Emerald, the family heirloom I had redeemed, to attract clients. Last week, she finally saved enough money to get a full-face makeover and was ready to hunt for a new man. On her first day back at work, my former bestie squad, led by Shermin, exposed her on the spot, just as I had planned. Someone threw up her before and after plastic surgery photos, abortion records, and an affair video from an African mine, all at once, on the casino's big screen. The entire room erupted in uproar, and security immediately threw her out. The final scene showed her kneeling in the London rain, her makeup ruined, clutching that fake necklace and wailing uncontrollably. I was trying on the Harrow school uniform prepared for my son when I came across the video. Casually, I transferred £88,888 to Shermin, with a note. Hard work deserves reward. The remaining funds are for everyone to enjoy champagne at the Savoy, put it on my tab. That same evening, Shane took me to attend the joint charity dinner between Harrington Blackwood and Kingsbridge Capital. I wore a custom-made burgundy velvet gown, with the genuine Ravenscroft emerald around my neck, the very same necklace Christian's mother had once placed on me herself. As the camera swept across the room, an audible gasp rippled through the crowd. This necklace was bought by a mysterious bidder for £128 million at a bankruptcy auction 3 years ago and has never been seen since. And tonight, it reappeared around the neck of its true owner, Lily Harrington, the current head of the Harrington family and wife of Kingsbridge. The host asked me with a smile, "Mrs. Shane, is this necklace particularly special tonight?" I glanced sideways at Shane, who lowered his head to kiss my fingers and answered for me. "It's a reminder. Some things, once lost by the unworthy, will find their way back to where they truly belong." The entire hall erupted in applause. As the event ended, I received a multimedia message from an unknown number. A photo: Christian stands on a street in Cape Town, wearing a tattered Ravenscroft Holdings uniform, holding up a cardboard sign that reads, "Willing to do anything for money. No job refused." I immediately screenshot it and posted it on my social media, captioning it, "Heard someone wants to come back for my son's 1-month celebration? Sorry, but Harrow school gates probably won't let in people begging with signs." The post features a 9-image grid. The first 8 are my son's 100-day photos, dressed in a custom-tailored little suit, looking adorably fierce. The 9th image is the one of Christian holding up his sign, intentionally edited with a big red X over it. First liker, Summer Lou, comment, "Sis you're classy. For the 100-day banquet I'll cover a yacht fireworks show. I'll keep an eye on that mess in Africa for you, won't let him come back." Second person, Felix, comment, "Bro, condolences." Third person, Shermin, directly Moon, "See this? This is called cosmic justice, understood?" I turned off my phone, letting the 999 plus message notifications vibrate wildly in my bag. Shane led me into the car, placing a lingering kiss at the corner of my lips. "Let's go home, my wife. Starting today, there will only ever be 2 labels beside your name, Mrs. Shane and the mother of my children." Outside the car window, the rain in London had stopped. At that moment, I suddenly realized that the most satisfying revenge of my life wasn't to leave them with nothing, but rather to live a life 10,000 times better than theirs combined.